The other article that you guys were sending to me while we were like getting ready for this open bar was from Variety this time. It says toxic fandom. That's always a good start. How Hollywood is battling fans who are just out for blood, from social media boot camps to superfan focus groups. It's amazing. So again, it's a lengthy one, so I'll try and just give you the highlights here. But they start by talking about Amanda Stenberg, because of course they do. She posted an 8.5-minute video to her Instagram stories about Lucasfilm's abrupt decision not to pick up the show for season 2. And that was truly gripping to watch, like watching her play with her hair for about 8 minutes straight and struggle to come up with an actual coherent sentence. But she did have to say, it's not a huge shock to me. We started experiencing a rampage of hyper-conservative bigotry and vitriol. So all the usual stuff. So essentially, The Acolyte was the latest high-profile target of the toxic fandom, the catch-all term for when fan criticism curdles from good faith dissatisfaction to a relentlessly negative, bigoted online campaign against the project or its stars or creative leaders. So if you criticize it too much, then that's it. You're toxic.
Did you see paragraph 3 where they talk about the franchise economy?
Yeah, well, there it is there. Increasingly dependent upon established audience devotion to drive the bottom line, the threat of toxic fandoms poisoning that enthusiasm is becoming a seemingly intractable headache for almost every studio, and it's only getting worse. And it's interesting, actually, because they talk about how they're aware of it, and they are afraid of provoking the fans by responding to it. And so they just have to kind of keep their heads down and hope that it'll pass them by. Which is an interesting observation, I suppose, because I think in the past they might have said, no, we need to confront this head on and show them who's boss.
But I thought it was a little bit weird, though, didn't you, Drinker, where it's like they're talking about the franchise economy. To me, that's like, well, we don't have any creativity or talent to create something new, so it's just all IP. That's kind of a little bit what I was
thinking. It's very true, though, isn't it? Like, they rely so much upon legacy franchises, legacy characters, just remake old stuff. How many new things have they created? Even that previous article, actually, that was about the Disney mismanagement Star Wars, they pointed to the Acolyte as being one of the only new things that they created that wasn't based on like previous characters and so on. And look how that turned out.
And as if a franchise economy itself isn't just a negative thing in general anyway, because like you're talking about, like we should feel bad for movie studios for creating franchises and then milking them to death, as if like everyone should be eating up all the slop all the time.
Well, they talk about it here, actually. There's a quote from a studio executive, says it comes with the territory, but it's gotten incredibly loud in recent years, says a veteran marketing executive. People are just out for blood regardless. They think the purity of the first version will never be replaced, or you've done something to upset the canon of a beloved franchise, and they're going to take you down for doing so. And again, it's like, well, it's like he's saying, like, oh, you know, why do you have to keep like pushing back when we mess with all this stuff and like rewrite history? Like, why can't you just accept the slop that you're given, peasants? But like, of course they're going to push back.
It sounded like they said, like, oh, it's just angry. They'll do it for any reason, like a crazy reason, like you shit all over the thing they like. It's insane. Any reason, you know, throw it out. It's like, well, yeah. It's kind of been a problem for a while as well.
Yeah. They say here they mention YouTube, obviously. An entire YouTube ecosystem is devoted to declaring projects like The Marvels and The Boys woke garbage, among other pungent statements. Not that many people have been talking about The Boys being woke. I don't see many videos about that necessarily.
I'm also confused. There's an entire industry devoted to calling things good or bad or excellent or terrible or you know, the next piece of whatever media that's going to progress whatever thing. It's this oftentimes audiences for everything. I just don't see why that's an interesting factoid, other than the idea that it's like people do it just because other people will watch it. But then
these are sorry, Molly. Go ahead.
Just to say that, like, there's obvious. They even seem to recognize in what you've read several reasons why people have these perspectives, but then simultaneously are like, it's just nonsense, and they're doing it for money.
I think their biggest problem is that it's gaining traction, and so you know, now when people make statements like that, a lot of people end up agreeing with it because they know it's actually true. Like if you say The Marvels is garbage, you know, you don't need to be like clairvoyant to understand that. It's like, yeah, it is shit, and I agree it's shit, and it shouldn't be because you guys are capable of creating better things than this. You just haven't. And so that creates the snowball effect of, oh, that actually translates to an impact on your bottom line. Some people then don't go to see these movies or TV shows or whatever, and it starts to hurt you, and you're pissed off about it now because people can actually make their thoughts known. It's such an interesting reaction to it, because it's almost like they're mad that people get to voice their opinions about stuff now.
Yeah, the article also kind of contradicts itself because it talks about how generally it's, whatever, normies, the general audience that makes up the bulk of an audience of a franchise film. So therefore, YouTubers wouldn't have a major impact. But then again, it also has a major impact. Like, which one is it? I can't really decipher which one from that article.
They have to be stuck in this awkward position of, because they don't want to give too much credence to the people who are like super critical of what they do. So they always have to paint them as a tiny minority of people who just shout really loud. But they also have to recognize, in the case of this article, that they're actually having a major impact because a lot of people end up agreeing with them. And so, well, what is it? Are they this big threat that's damaging your bottom line and then it's unfair? Or are they a tiny subset of people who don't have any power whatsoever? You can't have it both ways.
That's the conundrum. And like what they're arguing is that we have so much power that we're able to influence people's excitement about a show. A lot of these shows depend on fan excitement in the lead up. And when you have these people that are talking about it in a bad way, then that doesn't happen. As if we are the people that crown things a success one way or the other.
Well, right. We single-handedly killed Acolyte. It was just us.
Yeah, certainly, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I wish that was true, because I would take credit for that. You're welcome, world.
Do you remember this space when Barbie happened? And the amount of people that were complaining about it and were trying to tear it down and like all this shit. And I looked at the Barbie movie a little bit different way. I said, yeah, it feels like they're making a movie for girls who played with Barbies 20 years ago. Like, that's the target demographic. That's the target audience. It doesn't really appeal to me, but I wouldn't expect it to. In the same way that like male-dominated franchise shouldn't be made to appeal to people that aren't actually the target audience for it. If the YouTubers had so much sway over things, why did Barbie make $1.5 billion, whatever the fuck it made? And the truth is, because if what we happen to be saying aligns with what the vast majority of other people think at that moment, it's going to seem like, well, a lot of people agree with these guys. Yeah. That's how it fucking works. If we were talking about, I don't know, what's something that's been incredibly like universally loved lately?
Like Deadpool and Wolverine was pretty well loved.
Yeah, no, yeah. Mahler loved that. So for instance,
besides Mahler,
why couldn't you work your magic and turn everyone against Deadpool and Wolverine?
Can you imagine?
Give him time. Campaigns against these projects. Why didn't it work for Deadpool and Wolverine?
12-hour video coming.
Right, but the fact is they want to blame YouTubers and toxic fans, whatever the one the fuck that is. Except they're not servicing the fans. Tolkien has about a 400 to 500 million fan base. Did Amazon go, hey, let's make something for all the Tolkien fans around the world, because that would huge market.
I think as well, like this argument of the toxic fan base, it's so dated now and played out. It's like they've tried so many times to make this stick, and it never really has, because people just rebuff it immediately and just go, nah, it's full of shit. Like, where people are just criticizing things that deserve to be criticized, and that's it. And like, you can't guilt people into liking things, I'm afraid, and you can't guilt them into staying quiet when they know something sucks, especially with the nature of the internet. Like, it's anonymous. People can voice their opinions about these things and not have to fear about getting fired or anything. So that's the problem.
Well,
and it's something they can't overcome.
It's like CNN is now going to start charging, what is it, $3.99 or $2.99 a month? I mean, it's news.
Good luck with that.
Right, but they can't give it away for free, but they're like, hey, we're starting a subscription service.
Well, look, I just want to say something about criticism, because I've been around this space since before there was an internet, and people made money writing about film in newspapers and magazines. Magazines are like the internet, printed on really thin slices of wood for those that don't know what a magazine is. But just, there's always been this industry. Okay. There's always been, I mean, Roger Ebert, if you remember Siskel and Ebert, I grew up watching them. I really enjoyed them. They made money. So there's just, I think they're pissed off because those people had to make their way up through writing and getting jobs. And there was a gate that was kept, right? Now there's no barrier to entry. Any schmo can start a YouTube channel, and if people agree or like what they say or even don't like what they say, they can become popular, right? So they're just pissed off they can't control all of us, right? Cannot be controlled or manipulated or coerced. So that's, I think, what they're pissed off about. So what are they going to do? Vilify you, right? Vilify us. So I'm annoyed by it. Just having the historical perspective. When I hear an article like this, I think those people are full of shit. They have no sense of history, and it's hypocrisy to not think, well, what did people who wrote for newspapers about film and TV, did they not get paid? Right? I mean, it's really dumb when I hear it that way, and I think it's about control. So there wasn't. You guys remember Harry Knowles and Ain't It Cool News?
Oh yeah,
that's some ancient internet history right there.
Right. That's lore, and Mahler probably knows all about it. He was the boogie of his time. Anyways, so he was ranting off on opinions, but as soon as he was courted by Hollywood, his rhetoric kind of died down. He got a little softer, throwing softballs and things, and they can't find a way to control the people, all of us here are YouTubers, right? So what do? You call them names and make them evil. And I don't know. I think people are smart enough to see through it, but an article like that is stupid and pointless. And that's all I want to say. All right. I'll bring back Mark from Variety.
JJ Sigmund actually summed it up quite well. The totalitarian boogeyman has to be both very threatening. We're under attack and laughably inept. We're so much better than them. It's true.
Yeah,
that's the awkward middle ground they always have to straddle. And I think there's an interesting insight from this article as well, because it talks about how studios actually try to preempt these kind of fan backlashes to a degree now. It says those that talked with Variety all agreed that the best defense is to avoid provoking fandoms in the first place. In addition to standard focus group testing, studios will actually assemble a specialized cluster of superfans to assess possible marketing materials for a major franchise project. It says they're very vocal. They will just tell us, if you do that, the fans are going to retaliate. These groups have even led studios to alter the projects. If it's early enough and the movie isn't finished yet, we can make those kinds of changes. So it's kind of an acknowledgement that they do apparently sometimes change things if it's at an early enough stage because they know the fans are going to kick off about it.
Would that be all the canceling of the Star Wars movies that happened over time?
Probably, yeah.
Why don't they just make something good? Surprise the fans. Give the customers what they want.
There is some interesting stuff in there, like people saying that they take over maybe one of the actors or actresses' social media for a while and stuff like that. This could all be saved by not making things that are intentionally destructive towards something that people love. Yeah. Right? That's step one. Don't make something that's intentionally meant to be controversial or provocative or destroy something that has a built-in fan base. And you can already see from these decisions, they know that some of these things are going to be massive controversies, and they do it anyway. That is changing, though. I do think we've passed the point now where people are trying to shy away from this more than they used to. Obviously, there's still going to be projects that have been in development for like 2 or 3 years that are coming out, or who knows. But I do think the tide is starting to turn on it.
It does feel like it. And yeah, to reference the point you made there, it does say in this article, studio insiders say they often put their talent through a social media boot camp. In some cases, when a character isn't intentionally challenging a franchise's status quo, i.e. they've race or gender swapped it, studios will, with the actor's permission, take over their social media accounts entirely. I think it's funny, actually, because I would genuinely love to know how many like social media accounts from big celebrities are actually them. I think it's going to be like 10-20% at most. The rest will be taken over by like publicity companies, PR people, all that sort of stuff. It won't actually be them tweeting things out.
Probably take Rachel Zegler's away.
Rachel Zegler, that's right, but they didn't.
I know. She did. There was an article about her just yesterday. I think it was like reinventing Rachel Zegler or something. It's like,
this
you
is
know,
the third time.
I think it's too late.
It's the third time she's tried this.
But it's like backwards though, based on what the article was saying. It's just back.
The article is explaining away Rachel Zegler's miscues as it was just a misunderstanding and fans are toxic. It was not
I hate
This is so fucking easy. This is so fucking easy. Just don't say inflammatory shit like that when you're like the star of this massive big Disney remake thing. Just
like,
kind of chill out. Be like thankful for it, you know? And if they try to bait you with a question, just be, you know, I felt really accepted and I'm really proud and we're really happy with what we've done with Snow White and I can't wait for everybody to see it. Instead of blaming everybody who's taken you at your own word and criticized you for that and just saying, well, no, we were just joking, and then proceed to tell lie after lie.
She's kind of gone. She's gone through
and then attach a highly charged political statement to it.
She's gone through each stage of this, like, coping process where she made the stupid statements initially when she was all full of confidence, like, this movie's going to be amazing, and like everyone just needs to accept it. Huge backlash. Went radio silent for a good 6 months to a year, then came back and did that interview with what was her name, Halle Bailey, where she was all very soft and very demure and talking with such reverence about the original Snow White and how she loved it and respected it so much. Nobody really cared about that because they knew what her real opinion was, and so now you've then got this article where it's back into defiance mode, where it's like, you just didn't understand what I was saying. And like, actually, anyone who criticized me is just toxic and racist and sexist. And that's the reason. And I'm sick of it. And so it's just like she's gone full circle back to just, I'm going to be an asshole again.